Okay, as promised this week, I mentioned we were going to start talking a little bit more about specifications. In your drawing package that you have from the rec center and the bridge assignment, there's a section in there that has one specific specification, and not even sure exactly what part that is. Don't have it right in front of me. But specifications have a particular order. So that it makes it easy for the contractor or the engineer or some subcontractors to be able to find things relatively easily using a numbering format. CSI is the Construction Specification Institute. They are the standard for most of the United States in North America for construction specifications. They used to be just 16 divisions. Now we have 50 divisions, and we'll take a look at how those are divided up. When we look at a book of specifications for a project, that specification set includes what we call front-end documents. And I'll kind of flip through these. Hopefully I can, here we go. Here are our master format groups, subgroups, and divisions. So to start out with, we have Division 00, which is Procurement and Contracting Requirements, Introductory Information, Procurement Requirements, and Contracting Requirements. In many cases, this is the largest amount of paper in the drawing package for a relatively small project, because this is all the legal documents, the payment requisitions, change orders, labor wage rates, those types of things are all included in the front end documents. And then we get into our specifications. General requirements are also kind of part of the front end documents in that they talk about what is required of the contractor and subcontractor. So even though you might be a painter or a door and window person, these general requirements basically apply to everybody that's on the job site. They will talk about smoking requirements, behavior on the job site. They talk about liquidated damages, how much you might need to pay if you're late getting something done or if it's not done on time. So we'll take a look at those. I do have attached to this a set of specifications from a job that was done a couple of years ago, and we'll take a look at those. Looking down through the list, here we get into our meat and potatoes, basically, of our specifications. Division 2 is existing conditions, concrete, masonry, metals, wood, plastic, and composites. This would include any structural wood, insulation, or actually insulation's under thermal and moisture protection, any type of composite type material, laminated beams, anything that would fall in this division would be basically your framing materials. Division 8 is openings. That includes doors and windows. Division 9 is finishes. This would be your paints and any type of exterior finish or interior finish would be included in Division 9. Division 10 is specialties. And this might include things like operable petitions, toilet petitions, rolling doors would be under openings, but any type of special equipment that's required would go under specialties. Division 11 is equipment. Division 12, furnishings, any type of built-in furnishings, cabinets and whatnot. Division 13, special construction. Division 14 is conveying equipment. This would be your elevators, your escalators, anything that's going to move people or materials from one place to another would fall under Division 14. We have some reserved for future expansion, and then we get into this is all facilities construction subgroup. We get our facilities services subgroup, which starts at Division 21 with fire suppression, plumbing, heating, ventilating, and air conditioning, integrated automation, electrical, communications, and electronic safety and security. These all fall within the facility services group. Site and infrastructure group start at Division 31 with earthwork, exterior improvements, and site work used to be like Division 1 or Division 2. They've moved it now to the end because it needs to expand. Utilities, transportation, waterway, and marine construction. They've got some reserved. And then process equipment subgroup, which is process integration, material processing, and handling equipment. This could be conveyors, anything that might be used for handling materials. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Gas and liquid handling, pollution and waste control equipment, industry-specific manufacturing equipment, water and wastewater, and electrical power generation. And this also can include cogeneration within an area. So your master format numbers and titles, that's just the basic titles. We don't throw everything under one. So if we actually look at this division 00 for procurement and contracting, we have a number for a title page, a seals page. This is where your engineering seals would be on the specifications. List of drawing sheets that need to match up. So if you find a drawing sheet that's not in the list, you need to question it. List of schedules. Your solicitation, this is copies of any of the advertisements that are in your proposal or in your project. Instructions for procurement, instructions for bidders, instructions for proposers. Supplementary instructions to bidders and proposers. This would cover anything that's above and beyond the basic instructions that may be the owner's specific requirements. How you're going to procure materials and procure scopes. All the different contracts are listed out here. Pre-bid meetings. Anytime we have a large project, we may want to have either a mandatory or non-mandatory pre-bid meeting that gives the contractors an opportunity to walk the site, look at the drawings, and ask any questions that may allow the designer to make a few minor changes. Pre-proposal meetings are also included in here. Available information. This would be, here we go, the schedules, existing condition information, anything that's been tested, soil borings, those types of things, environmental assessments, geophysical data, your seismic information would be in this material if we've pre-done it. And then we've got our bid forms, division 004100, your proposal forms, whatever's required. Now you won't see every piece of these documents in place, but you're going to pick and choose what you need for each particular project to include in the drawings. Procurement forms. Anytime we have a large project, we need to make sure that we're being billed for work that's been done and only work that's been done and material that shows up on the job site. Your schedule of values and units form have to be filled out. Your bidder qualifications, representations and certifications that might be required, contracting forms. This is all just your AIA, normally AIA documents. Just more agreements, project forms, bond forms. Anytime a contractor works for the University of Maine, for instance, they are required to carry a bond, which means they are insured should they blow up, go bankrupt, whatever happens to them, the insurance company would step in and finish the project. It's not something either party really wants to deal with because it never comes out good. But we do require some protection when we hire a contractor to make sure that they are insurable, at least, that they have shown a track record of work that indicates that they can do the work and have done it in the past. Now, contractors that do fall down and have to use their bond to finish up projects because they've gone bankrupt sometimes show up with different names on their trucks, and that happens quite often. So even though a contractor may go belly up, there's a chance you could see them again in the very near future under some other form. So never count them out, but it's again just protection. We have sometimes requirements for minority business enterprise, female-owned companies may get preference on certain projects that have federal funding. Minorities certainly would fall into an area where if you're a minority business, whether you're a Native American or some other type of minority in an area, then you may have a preference on your contract for your work. We don't necessarily run into this very often, but it is something that is required. Change orders, requests for proposals, all of these are on specific forms that need to be put into the project. We're getting into Division 1 here. This is all submittal procedures, how we want submittals on each particular item to come into the project. If you're a door and window supplier and you're supplying doors on a particular project, you need to supply shop drawings and information showing what you are supplying for doors so that they can be approved by the engineer. Every item in the project needs to be submitted and approved by the engineer. It can be in groups, like electrical stuff will all come in groups with a whole binder of all the products that are going to be used electrically in the project, and the engineer can go through those relatively quickly and make approvals or changes. The stamp generally says approved, approved as noted, rejected, or revise and resubmit. Those are the options, and any notes would go on a red line drawing to the back to the contractor to do what needs to be done to make sure that it meets specification. The worst thing that can happen is to get something on the job site installed behind walls that you suddenly determine does not meet specification and it has to be taken out. So it's very important that these things be looked at prior to installation, and it's a protection for the contractor to supply things with submittals from a manufacturer so that they are assured that what they're putting in is been approved by the engineering firm, the design construction firm. Quality requirements, again, codes, laws, rules, fees, permit requirements. Sometimes even on the university we need to go to the town of Orono for a building permit for certain things because they want to know what we're doing on this campus. They want to know what life safety systems we're putting in, and they may have some ideas on what we should be putting in. Things like mock-ups down here under Division 01-4339 include things that maybe a wall section in masonry. The engineer may require them to build a mock-up of that wall construction with masonry so that they can check the colors, make sure it looks right before it actually gets put into the building. And again, it's a good insurance policy to say, yes, that's what we want, or no, let's try something a little different. This doesn't really fit our needs. So occasionally we do ask for mock-ups on particular wall construction types to make sure that we're satisfied that it's going to do the job for us. I'll kind of flip through these. You can kind of scan them. I'll post this up on the Blackboard site. All kinds of different things, and this is a good chart to hang on to because it's kind of like an index. If you say, geez, I really want to know what I'm going to need to do for temporary fencing, here it is, 01-5626, any type of temporary barricades, portable toilets are listed up here. There's sanitary facilities, what you're going to have for first aid facilities. Again, a lot of this stuff you might not need because it's a small enough project, but on some of the bigger projects, there's going to be rules and regulations for pretty much everything you do on the site to make sure that you're safe, the building's safe, the people around you are safe, and the owners are going to be satisfied with the product when they're done. It takes up a lot of paper. Fortunately, we're getting more into electronic paperwork, but these things are important. All the way up to closeout submittals, what you need to do to get your final payments, get all your warranties in. We require a as-built drawings and also a manual of operation. So anything that you've put into the building that has a warranty, that has maintenance items associated with it, we want everything documented and a full book of as-builts and operations and maintenance manuals for the construction after the fact. Performance requirements, sometimes we do things like commissioning. This is where we hire an outside consultant to come in and test the air handling system and make sure that it's doing what it was designed to do, that the contractor hasn't made any shortcuts or wired a fan up backwards. And believe me, that happens more often than you think, that a fan gets wired up backwards, and what happens, instead of pushing air through, it's drawing air out and working against some other thing, and all of a sudden you're saying, geez, this room's hot, or this room's cold, and everything else seems fine. What's going on? You know, you find out somebody just wired up a fan backwards. And then we got decommissioning, kind of the reverse. Here's our section 2, which is existing conditions. You see we have a lot of different things in the existing conditions. You may only have a few of these in your project, but they need to be listed in this type of organization with these numbers to determine that everything is being analyzed. Subsurface investigation can include seismic investigations. We have a specification section for seismic investigations. Anything that's for demolition and removal, including what you're going to do with that material when it's taken out, whether the owner takes it or you do. Decontaminations, site containment. We want to make sure that any site work done is not going to wash off into the river, and how we're going to take care of that. Snow control. Okay, got interrupted there by the FedEx man. So we'll go down through, I'll kind of skip through these. Things like lead, asbestos, mold, those things all need to be taken care of. Division 3, concrete. Everything from maintenance, cleaning, how it's going to go in, fibrous reinforcing, anything to do with concrete, cast in place, and also precast information. Here we see our precast structural concrete planks and different types of information on this. Again, anything to do with concrete. Masonry, same thing. You can see we've got a lot of different numbers and sub-numbers. You could put everything, if you've got a really small project, and just say this is Division 5 and put everything underneath it that's covered. But if you've got a larger project where things need to be kind of separated out for the specifications, your structural members may need to get away from your decking. You need to kind of split these things up. Wood, plastic, and composites. Everything you can imagine in wood, plastic, and composites is listed here. Even things like nailing schedules, maybe the size of the nails may show up as in here as to how big the nails need to be in penny size to do the work. Heavy timber, sheathing, finished carpentry, wood paneling, structural composites, plastics. Then we got insulation material, including damp proofing material. This includes roof shingles are listed under Division 7 because they're designed as waterproofing on a building. So anything that's going to prevent water from getting into a building would show up possibly in Division 7. A lot of material in here. Division 8 is openings. This again is doors and windows. We'll go through, I'll just flip through these. There's quite a few pages in here. All the different types of doors and windows and skylights and glazing materials that are available. Finishes. This would be your tiles, acoustical treatments, ceiling tiles, plaster, all the different materials. Flooring materials, terrazzo, carpeting, acoustical treatments, painting and coatings. This is one we need a lot up here, graffiti resistant. Specialties, corkboards, chalkboards, tackboards, display cases, telephones, shelving and enclosures, toilet compartments, petitions, folding gates, toilet and bath and laundry accessories, fireplaces and stoves, storage specialties. Your lockers in your locker rooms have their own special section, 105100, and you can break it down into metal, wood, plastic, phenolic, glass, wire mesh, are all listed in here. And many of these can be found online as far as the specs go from particular manufacturers. I'll show you how to do that shortly. Exterior specialties, sun control, wine storage racks have their own specification section under CSI. Flags and banners fall under specialties. Division 11 is equipment, parking ticket dispensers, vehicle lubrication equipment, tire changing equipment, pedestrian control, teller and service window equipment, unit kitchens, residential appliances, food delivery carts and conveyors, audiovisual equipment for educational materials, library equipment would all fall under Division 11. Again, I'll just flip through these things really quickly. Furnishings. I'd have to look up what Trompe L'Oeil is. Maybe that's a good question on a test. Just look up what Trompe L'Oeil is. Murals. This is all artwork, commissioned or non-commissioned. Sculptures, art glass, furnishings. We have a lot of work that's done on campus here that falls under the percent for art rules that require us to put a certain percentage of our total project cost into artwork for the building. So generally there's maybe 1 or 2% set aside for an artist from the area that's been approved by the state to do a commissioned piece of artwork for our buildings, and we see that in several locations on campus. One is that I can think of right off the bat is over by Lord Hall towards the mall. You see these vertical granite blocks that have some engraving in them. That's percent for art. So any of these sculptures you see outside newer buildings or inside the building are generally covered by the percent for art. Window coverings, casework, furnishings for tables, office, portable lamps, bath furnishings, rugs and mats, institutional, site furnishing, bike racks and things like that would fall under that division. Here's specialty construction, again, Division 13, just all kinds of crazy stuff from ice rinks. Your dasher boards actually have a spec section, as does the rink floor system, the ice cooling system. Kennels, all of this stuff is in here. I'm going to really flip through. Fire suppression, plumbing, heating, ventilating, and air conditioning. This stuff will all be online so you can take a look at it yourself. Central cooling equipment. I'm not going to ask you to memorize the numbers of this material. I'm not going to say, you know, what number would packaged outdoor HVAC equipment be, but I would expect that you'd be able to look it up relatively quickly if you needed to. Integrated automation. I'm not really sure how this falls in here. You may see some clues. Fire suppression system would fall under this. Conveying equipment for factories and whatnot. Electrical work, big spec section. We have a lot of different components that go into electrical work. Conduits, raceways, wiring, fixtures are all included here. Power generating, transfer switches, lighting. Communications is fairly new on here. It used to be part of electrical. Now that has its own spec section because it's become so diverse out in the field. So we'll put voice communications, audio visual materials, safety and security, electronic surveillance, detections and alarms, monitoring and controls, earthwork. All your site work in here is part of this, from site clearing, site moving, earthwork materials, soil stabilization, gabions. Don't know what a gabion is. A vegetated gabion mattress. Yeah, let me look. What is a gabion? I'm going to go to my other computer here while you're looking at that. Type in gabion. Wikipedia. Civil engineering. The most common civil engineering use of gabions is to stabilize shorelines. A gabion is Italian meaning big cage. It's a cage, cylinder, or box filled with rocks, concrete, or sometimes sand and soil to use in civil engineering, road buildings, and military applications for erosion control. So we've seen some of these outside. You'll see a big cage and it's filled with rocks outside a bridge abutment, for instance, to keep it from washing out. So now I know what gabions are. Riprap, that's generally just stone material that's laid out as, or some type of material laid out to prevent erosion. So erosion control is a big item in here. Site improvements, all this stuff is part of it. I'm not sure, did I just slip into that? Sanitary sewage, this is utilities, section 33. All your energy coming in and energy going out would be listed here. Waterway and marine construction, listed here. Material handling, process equipment, pollution control. This is all your kind of really getting right down in there. Now what I brought up here is an actual specification that we wrote for the electrical engineering pole barn. The electrical engineering pole barn is actually called, I think, the Wireless Research Facility, and it's over by the Mahaney Dome. It's that metal building. It's cheap. It's a pole barn, but I wanted you to see this was built in 2010, so this was the specification we put together to send this out. Here's our cover sheet. You can see the spec section down here. This page is intentionally left blank. You don't want to send out specs and have somebody open up a blank page and wonder if we missed something, if something didn't print. So we always have to put this on any blank pages. Here's our seals page. There's our engineer, Stu Harvey, stamped my stuff. Another page left blank. Here's our table of contents. Has all of our information from the title page, the seals, table of contents, list of drawing sheets. So this is our table of contents. We get all the way down through all of this material. It tells how many pages there are for each one. Then we've got our list of drawings. I have a floor plan, a pole barn, an aerial model, and a floor plan with section and elevations. So there's only 4 drawings to this project. It's a pretty simple barn. It was cheap. Here's our advertising for bids. We want sealed proposals in envelopes plainly marked electrical engineering pole barn sent to this address. The bids will be open at 1 p.m. on Friday, September 3rd, 2010, at which time they will be open and read aloud. Always a fun thing. The description of the project consists of a 60 by 60 pole barn over existing paved surface, the old tennis courts near the Mahaney Dome. Here is the plans and documents may be obtained from us. Electronic documents, we publish these in PDF format, so they're put up online for people that don't want to travel this far for something so small to get more people. Another page left blank, instructions to bidders. Again, I'll post this up online. I'll just hit some of the spots, high spots. This is just one section on how the bidders should react. At the time of the first paragraph says, at the time of the opening of bids, each bidder will be presumed to have inspected the site and to have read and to be thoroughly familiar with the plans and contract documents, including all addenda. An addenda would be an update we might send out if somebody has a legitimate question on a project and we say, well, geez, we ought to let all of the contractors know about this question and how we've answered it. We would send out an addenda. The failure or admission of any bidder to receive or examine any form, instrument, or document shall not relieve any bidder from any obligation in respect to the bid. The owner reserves the right to accept or reject any and all bids as may best serve the interests of the University Main system. We generally go with the low bid if they are qualified, but we are very specific. If they make a mistake on their bid form, we will throw their bid out. If they're late getting their bid here, we will throw them out. If they're not signed in the right spots, it'll be thrown out. Even if it's a bidder we want, we can't accept it if they don't follow the rules. Here's the bid form. This is what we actually open up. The name of the bidder, their address, it's who they sent it to. Here's the description. They're going to give us a price of so many dollars. They'll give us any alternates we may have asked for. and then they'll acknowledge addendum 1, 2, 3, 4, however many addendums we put out. They'll acknowledge they received it, looked at it, and put a date here. They'll sign the bottom, and then it'll be stamped and notarized. Their bid security form is here, which tells who the insurance company is that's going to insure them. It may be just a form from their own insurance company. The notice of award, this is just a sample of what the letter will look like going out to let them know that they have gotten the bid. Our construction contract agreement, which needs to be signed and sealed and all the other good stuff before they can actually start work. We can't actually start work until they actually even have their bonds in place, so that they need to be fully insured before they can even start here. Performance bond form, payment bond form, this is what they would send in when they need their payments done. Here's our AIA contract document. Accord, we use AIA documents for all of our material. I don't pay much attention to these because generally liability insurance and what the requirements are. We're going to get into all of this stuff for the insurance. I'm going to flip through this really quickly because if they get somebody to insure them, that's important. But the insurance companies deal with all this information, so a lot of it's kind of legal mumbo jumbo, and you need to kind of study them a little bit, just kind of know the basics about what's required. More insurance, more AIA documents, some schedule of values we use when they're looking for payments. Again, this would be their request for payment form from AIA, where they have to put in the full bond, how much it's there now, how much retainage they're taking out, what they want us to pay, and we'll sign off on that if it's correct and get them paid. Sales tax form, the university is tax exempt, so they have to fill this information out so that actually they can get their materials tax exempt if it's going to the university. Consent of surety to reduction in or partial release of retainage. This is filled out. We hold 5% normally of the total construction cost from the contractor until the job is totally done and we're satisfied that it meets all of our requirements based on the specifications in the drawing. If they've left something out, we're going to keep that 5% to make it worth their while to come back and fix it. Otherwise, if you pay them everything and it's still not right, you're never going to see them here. Not easily anyway, so there'll always be something going on. Stored materials, this is if they want to get paid for materials that are stored off-site. We need to know what they are, where they're at, and that they've actually paid for them. More information, more AIA documents. I'll flip through this as quickly as I can. Work change proposals, if there's any changes during the job, they'd fill out this particular form. It really doesn't do them any good. Our accounts people, our contract people will not accept anything but these forms when they send them in, even though they need to pay for them. If they send us just an email that says I need a change order on this, they have to fill this information out to make it work. Contract changes again are listed here. Certificate of substantial completion. When the job is almost done and occupiable even, we want a certificate of substantial completion that says the architects looked at it, the contractors looked at it, the owners signed off, and we are substantially complete. Doesn't mean it's totally done. We still got that retainage, but it's something they need to make sure is taken care of. Certificate of completion, again, filled out by the contractor, signed by the architect and the owner, that we all agree that the job is complete. Affidavit of payments and debts claims, release of liens. Anytime they have subcontractors, we will not pay the contractor until we have release of liens from their subcontractors, so that, it's not unusual in this day and age to have a contractor collect all the money not pay their subcontractors, and then the subcontractors comes back after the owner saying, I never got paid for the work I did on this job, and suddenly the general contractor's gone out of business. So we need to make sure that the subcontractors have signed a release of lien that says that they either have been paid or that upon payment they will release any liens, so we can make sure that it's correct. This sometimes becomes difficult because the contractor hasn't been paid by us in order to pay their subcontractors. So if they don't have the money to pay their subcontractors, the subcontractors won't sign a lien release, in which case the contractor can't get paid, so it becomes this vicious circle. So we kind of reword that to say, upon payment, I release any liens on this, and that way we can kind of make sure that everything is taken care of. Final payments, general conditions. General conditions, again, this is front-end stuff that just goes out all the time. I'll flip through it as quickly as I can here. If I see anything that it's basically legal talk about who is responsible for what, who can stop the work, who can start the work, where things are. A lot of this is common sense, but if it's not written down somewhere, and this is the same document for every project we put out there, warranties, taxes, who the superintendent, what his responsibilities are, shop drawings, samples, use of the site, royalties, patents and copyrights, access to the work. All of this stuff is spelled out in this document. Pretty much anything you can imagine has a paragraph that describes how the work is done. For instance, let's look at change orders. A change order is a written instrument prepared by the architect and signed by the owner, contractor, and architect, stating their agreement upon all of the following: the change in the work, the amount of the adjustment, if any, in the contract sum, and the extent of the adjustment, if any, in time. And there's sometimes when there'll be a change order on the work that doesn't cost anything, but we need to still document it because it may still cost some extra time. It may not, but you still want to document. Even if there's no cost and no time involved in it, you need to document the saying, we changed this, this is what we did, so that it protects everybody. Again, just more materials, hazardous materials, emergencies, liabilities, use insurance, more legal talk. It's not written so you can't understand it, but it's all stuff that is basically common sense materials and information. Claims and disputes, mediation, arbitration, supplemental conditions, and these are generally by the owner, but it adds the following: the architect is the initial decision maker for this agreement. Let's see if there's anything else here. They inserted the following under 3.4.4: if a wage scale prepared by the State of Maine Department of Labor Bureau and Labor Standards is included in the contract document, such wage scale represents the minimum wages that must be paid to each category of labor employed on the project. And we'll probably see something to that effect, the actual wage rate on this job. The equal employment opportunity says we can't discriminate based on race, color, religious creed, sex, sexual orientation, national origin, ancestry, age, physical handicap, or mental handicap. And we're, anybody could sue us at any time for a lot of this information if they feel like they've been discriminated against. Concealed or unknown conditions. If the contractor encounters conditions at the site that are subsurface or otherwise concealed physical condition that differ materially from those indicated in the contract documents, the drawings and the specifications, or unknown physical conditions of an unusual nature that differ from material from those ordinarily found to exist and generally recognized as inherent in construction activities of the character provided for in the contract documents, the contractor shall promptly provide notice to the owner and the architect before conditions are disturbed. This mainly says, if you see something that was not in the drawings and documents, let us know immediately so we can figure out what to do. We have had instances where we've started to dig for a foundation and we pulled up some asbestos pipe because the place was an old dump at one time. So as the campus expanded, the dump sites kind of got buried over, and we sometimes pick up a piece of material out of the ground that for no other specific reason just got left there, and it can cause issues. We'll get through these. Just more supplemental stuff that they want to put in on top of the existing materials. The limits for insurance. The contractor needs to have a minimum $2 million general aggregate insurance. All of these are the limits or minimum limits for insurance from the contractor for liability. All of this other material is just more. Here's our Human Rights Act. It says that on the discrimination process, they generally need to post this at the job site so everybody knows. Schedule of liquidated damages. Many times, most times, our work is predicated on making sure that it's done by a certain time. We have to open our classrooms. We have to be ready to go when the students show up. And if the contractor cannot do that, we have the legal right to fine them on a per day basis. For projects $100,000 to $300,000 would be $675 a day. To a maximum limit of $1,500 a day for projects that are over $4 million. If, for instance, we need that track and field ready by fall and September 1st comes around and that's not done, we have the legal right to start putting a liquidated damages clause in effect. That's hard to do sometimes because many times weather may cause delays, changes may cause delays in the project, and that's why it's important to include those timelines in change orders. Workforces, materials, strikes, those types of things can happen. So the liquidated damages rarely ever gets enforced, but it's there if you have a contractor that is absolutely just not doing the work. It's a nice day and there's nobody on the job site for no particular reason other than the fact that he might have too many irons in the fire. That's your protection. Here's our labor wage rate. For any contractor coming in and bidding on this job, they know that they need to pay a carpenter a minimum of $17.34 an hour plus $1.98 in benefits for a total of $19.32 per hour. I know that's hard to read, but most of your basic construction work here, electricians, for instance, $21.75, $8.29 or $6.29 gives it $28.04 is the actual total in the minimum wage rate for this particular project, and every project has a specific wage rate associated with it. Now we get to the meat and potatoes. Here's our scope of work. Build a 60 by 60 building, 15-foot eave height, 29 gauge exterior metal siding, 29 gauge exterior metal roofing, 2 commercial grade doors with Schlage lever handle lock sets, 3 pairs of hinges, a closer, a 10 by 10 sectional overhead door, and then a note about some drawings. Contractor shall obtain a building permit from the town of Orono. Submittal procedures. This is what we want submitted. Closeout procedures. Here's our drawing. I crossed this out because Carpenter Associates did their own truss evaluation because it's needed to be a clear span. They have a big torus in here that's a lunar habitat, so it's basically just a shell. So we have these drawings. Here's a visual of where the building was going to be located, and this is Carpenter Associates' structural design of the building itself. Not really too much else. A lot of the notes are on here, so there really isn't too much. I apologize that those drawings are falling off the screen there, but you're seeing part of them anyway. So you can see my specifications are actually just the scope of the work. That's all we got in there. It's a pretty basic building, but all of the other stuff that's in there. And these specifications, you'll notice, this is easy to show because it's on one page. A specification consists of 3 parts. Below the title, we have general information, the products, and the execution. In this case, I didn't get specific about the products because I just gave a general, basically a general description up here. I gave some or equals, like this overhead door series 2424 non-insulated. Some of these are brand names. All of them can be as approved equal. So the products I really didn't need to put in here. The general covered the grounds and the buildings, the products, and then we have the execution. The owner will provide notification to proceed once all contracts are signed and other agreements and requirements and bonds and insurance are executed and approved. Contractors shall obtain building permit from the town of Orono, shall provide and maintain site project specific safety manual for owner files with a copy available at the project site. Site will be maintained in a neat and orderly manner. A pre-construction meeting will be held to go over parking, worker conduct, and safety prior to the project commencement. So myself as the building manager would have taken care of this, met with them, just said don't be whistling at anybody and don't be swearing and tearing, and there's no smoking and all that other good stuff. Or campus police will be down to take care of you. So with all of that information, basically they looked at this and said, yes, this is what I'm going to do. But all of the other stuff is important too. So those are your specifications. These things can be very big or they can be very small. They can be volumes, but they're all in the same order. That CSI specification at the very beginning, and let me go back up to that. I'm going to hit escape and knock myself out of this. Let's go back to page 1 just for a second. 10 easy lessons. You can see that the scope, the division in levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got these additional Masterformat 2004 includes all of these subdivisions, and you can extend these out as far as you want as needed to get down as specifically as you want for each particular division. But the basic divisions are here, and then how they're broken down is listed in this format. And again, I'll post this up online for you a little later on today. And that's it on specifications. So as far as a quiz to study for, I'll probably come up with just some basic questions on CSI Masterformat specifications. I'd study this first part as much as you can, as just getting a general feel for specifications, and we'll see what we can come up with, and we'll maybe talk about a little bit more in lab. But this is it. I may give you something where you can actually find the information from the set of specifications we have on this PowerPoint, but we'll see how it goes. That is it. Thank you.